Sports Talk. Let's go.
What up? Good morning, everyone. It's me, your boy, Ryan Flowers, a.k.a. Clutch Sports Talk, and welcome to another live edition of NFL Sunday Wake Up with me, Ryan Flowers. It's week 13. It started off this past Turkey Day on Thanksgiving with a slate of games, followed up by Black Friday with the Chiefs and the Raiders, and today we have Sunday and Monday night's performances to come. And as usual on my show, we have a lot to talk about. Of course, I have to talk about the Chicago Bears and Matt Eberflus. He has been relieved of his duties. We'll get into that. Also, Saquon Barkley, should he be considered a legitimate MVP candidate in the National Football League? I'll let you know my thoughts on that. We'll go over my power rankings for Week 13, as well as my previews and predictions for the rest of the games for Week 13, and then wrap up the show with my clutch picks of the week. So if you love football and you love NFL football, then you are in the right place, my friend. So sit back and relax and enjoy the show. This is NFL Sunday Wake Up with me, Ryan Flowers. You know what to do. Let's go. Welcome on in. Good morning for those on the East Coast. It's 11 a.m. here on the West Coast. It is a bright 8 a.m. here in Las Vegas, Nevada. But before I move on, if you haven't already, subscribe to my YouTube channel. You see down on the bottom, it's Clutch Sports Talk Podcast on YouTube as well. Hit me up on the Grid Network if you guys want to watch my NFL matchups episodes. I just did a live last week, Thursday. But yeah, check all of my content out there. But appreciate it. I just actually hit over 300 subscriptions. So it's a process. It's a process. So, but I appreciate everyone that has subscribed and appreciate you for doing so. And if you're watching the show right now, man, make sure you drop a comment, man. Let me know what's going on with you guys. If you have any questions, you want to hear my thoughts on certain things, please do not hesitate. Also, shout out to the UNLV Rebels, man. Big win last night. They kept the cannon, the Fremont Cannon, which is the I guess the trophy that's won between the rivals here in Las Vegas and then up against Nevada, Reno. So we won that. We kept it red. And then we are going to be playing in the Mountain West Championship game on Friday, this upcoming Friday, with a chance for a playoff in the college football berth, or excuse me, a berth in the college football playoffs against Boise State. So big things for Rebel football, man. Shout out to them. They've had a fantastic season. 10 wins, 10-2. Mind you, for those who don't remember, I believe it was like week 3, we had the quarterback. He decided to leave because he wasn't paid. And then the other kid stepped up and he's done a fantastic job. Hopefully he can finish the job here and win the Mountain West. So shout out to the Rebels there. For those who keep up with college football, they're doing their thing there. All right. Let's talk about the Chicago Bears and the current state of their team. Now, they lost another game, another head scratcher, I would say. They're 4-8. They're riding a 6-game losing streak, and their coach down the stretch. Well, let's just talk about that sequence there. With 34 seconds left in the game, they got up. You would think, okay, maybe get a quick play off. All right, maybe throw a ball out, outside. Maybe a receiver can get out of bounds. You still got the timeout just in case. But in true Bears fashion, which they've also done on several occasions here, they've just kind of implode down the stretch. And they let the clock run out without not even calling a timeout, giving your field goal kicker an opportunity to try to tie that game and set it into overtime. Fast forward to the press conference, Matt Eberflus was like, yeah, I support what we did. And number one, I think we all expected this guy to get fired. And I called it. I literally said it that morning on NFL matchups. I'm going to have to go back and get that clip. But I literally said that if they lost, this man would probably be out of a job. Now, they didn't get blown out. It was looking like they were. So there was some fight there, which I'll talk about here in just a second. But the down the stretch in these close games, coaching matters. And Matt Eberflus and his staff just is incapable. And he was let go. He didn't think he was going to be let go. He thought he was going to be getting ready for whatever team they're going to be preparing for next. I think it was the Niners, something like that. But he made a statement saying, not worried about that. I'm getting ready to prepare for the next game. Well, you're not, buddy. You're out of there, and rightfully so. Now, you look at the last coaches that the Bears have had. In retrospect, probably should have kept Lovie Smith a little longer, right? I think they moved off of him, went to Mark Trestman, then John Fox, then Matt Nagy, and then now Matt Eberflus is gone. And all of those guys, I think with the exception, maybe, I think Matt Nagy had a winning record of 34-1, but the rest of the jokers have been losers. And they fired Lovie Smith when he was 10-6, and people don't remember that. Like, they fired him when he was 10-6. But this is the first time in Bears history that they fired a coach in season. In their 100+ years of existence, they've never fired a coach in the middle of the season. But this was so bad that they had to let this go. And for a couple of things, right? Number one, I think you have a rookie quarterback who is in a very sensitive, delicate transition right now. And this coaching staff was not breeding development with him, right? They always looked underperformed, or they underperformed, underwhelming, from the OC to the head coach not making decisions. You look, since they fired Shane Waldron, their offense their offense productivity has increased. Under Shane Waldron, it was terrible. Now, there were some games where Caleb Williams, threw really well, but it was against trash teams like the Panthers or some other defense that wasn't really that great, the Jaguars at the time, right? And you look at the OC now, who is the interim coach now. I believe his name is, I forgot his first name, but last name Thomas. He's played really good teams against, like, Green Bay, Minnesota, that have really good defenses, and they've performed. Lions, right? So it didn't start well, but still, right? You can see there's something brewing there, right? So if you're a Bears fan, you're optimistic that they fired Matt Eberflus, because now he does not have the keys to wreck this Lamborghini into a brick wall. Now, the next problem is that who do you get? Who do you get is going to be very crucial. There's going to be a lot of names thrown out there, maybe some college guys, but Ben Johnson is probably the leading name out of all NFL vacancies that are going to be, or guys that are going to be head coaches. So that's going to be key. Matt Eberflus, another defensive guy. I don't believe in defensive guys being head coaches, especially for young teams. Now, it may work in certain situations, right? Well, first of all, Dan Campbell's not a defensive guy. He's an offensive guy. He played tight end, okay? But let's just say if he was a defensive guy, it only works in situations like that if you have a veteran quarterback, where that head coach doesn't have to really put a lot of time and effort into a young quarterback, right? Because veterans know, like, Jared Goff is a veteran. He played in a Super Bowl, right? He's a number 1 overall draft pick, if I'm not mistaken. So he's been in the league a while before he went to the Lions, and see the success that they're having. Well, what about the Texans last year? Well, what about them? You see how they're struggling this year. Not to say that D'Amico Ryans is not doing a great job. I think a lot of their thing is that injuries, things of that nature. But I just don't like defensive head coaches. I just don't. That's just not my thing. I would much rather have an offensive head coach and you get a good defensive coordinator, right? Because at the end of the day, in this league, you need to have a quarterback. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. You must have a quarterback to win in this league. And if your quarterback cannot harvest a relationship with the offensive coordinator or the head coach, then you're in a bit of a trouble. And that's where the Bears find themselves. So yes, Ben Cornett, you are absolutely right. He says D'Amico Ryans is more the exception than the rule. So right. I mean, but again, they're struggling this year too. So they have one good year. So we'll see. So that's kind of like what's on the horizon for Chicago Bears. Whoever they hire next, they got to get it right. If not, Ryan Poles will be looking for a new job too. Now speaking of Ryan Poles, listen, this roster is talented. Like, there's no question about it. Going into the season, we all looked at this roster and we're like, oh, okay, all right. And then, they were 4-2 at one point. You're like, okay, maybe the Bears figured it out. And I don't think the offensive line is as bad as people think it is. I think it's just the coaching. I think the play scheme is terrible. But now that's all gone. That's all done because you have an interim head coach. But eventually, you're going to get a new guy in there. Unfortunately for Thomas, he won't be the guy unless he just goes on and wins every game of the rest of the year. But still, nonetheless, this team does have a light at the end of the tunnel. You got dudes. You got 2 really solid running backs. You got really good wide receivers. Your defense is not bad. You got guys like Montrezl Sweat in the middle on the defensive line. You got dudes on the defense as well. So again, the future prospects for them look very, very, very good. If I'm them, just lose, get another high draft pick, right? Maybe you go get a Travis Hunter, depending on how you finish. Maybe you get another corner, right? I don't know. Because on offense, I think they're good, really. I mean, you can go get an offensive lineman, too. So it is what it is. But Matt Eberflus, I was a little surprised that he had got the job originally. But again, nothing surprises me anymore. Some of these guys, it's a good old boys club. And if it's who you know and yada, yada, yada. And some of these guys are just not really good head coaches. And it's not a slight to them. Some people are good at just being coordinators. Some are good at strength and conditioning, whatever the case may be. And some people have a knack for being a head coach, because being a head coach does not mean you only focus on one thing. You have the whole enchilada to worry about, and some of these guys just can't do it. And you've seen a lot with these guys too, that they can't handle game management, right? And time again, the Bears this year, you're like, what's going on with them, right? And I think this past Thursday was just a culmination of it all, and the fact that he was just like, yeah, you know what? I thought we did good. Like, what? So I think that was it for him. I think he pretty put the final nail in his own coffin with that statement that he meant. So, all right, before I move on, Ben says, unfortunately, the previous two Bear head coaches before Eberflus were offensive coordinators. Yeah, you're right. I think it was Matt Nagy and then Mark Trestman. Mark Trestman was supposed to be this guy. So yeah, I mean, yeah, it works either way. I didn't like Trestman, and no offense to the Canadian Football League. I believe he came from Canada. And again, Matt Nagy was another guy too. But when you look at him, a lot of his success was centered around was it Patrick Mahomes, because I believe he came from Kansas City. So like, you've seen guys that have left Kansas City and haven't, like, look at what happened to Eric Bieniemy. He's not even in the NFL anymore. He's at UCLA. Like, he's not even in the NFL. He's in college football at UCLA. So a lot of it is, was he really the mastermind behind that in Kansas City? Or was it Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes? So those are things that I would have probably considered. I want to see a guy that's like Ben Johnson for sure. Like, you've seen what he's done the last couple of years with Detroit and how their offense has been firing on cylinders. So yeah, I mean, does it automatically mean if you get an offensive guy, it's going to work? No, it doesn't. But I'm more inclined to take an offensive guy over a defensive guy. But like I said before, like, the Bears kind of screwed the pooch a long time ago when they got rid of Lovie Smith when they shouldn't have, right? So, and they kept searching. But I'm more inclined to take an offensive guy. But good point to you there, Ben. I appreciate you. All right. Let's talk about the MVP race here. It's heating up. You got guys like Lamar. You hear Josh Allen. They're top of the leaderboard there, right? But some people do not want to give respect to Saquon Barkley. And I don't get it, man. I mean, he literally lit up the Chargers the other night, or was it the Chargers or Rams? Excuse me, the Rams, for 255 yards. And he had two long touchdowns, one for 70, one for 72, and he totaled 302 yards from the line of scrimmage in one game, right? And I get it. This award has been exclusively just for quarterbacks, right? I believe it's the last person outside of a quarterback to win it was Adrian Peterson. So oddly enough, another running back, right? So I believe that was like 2011, 2012. You can fact check me if you want to. But listen, Saquon Barkley, to me, I'll be the first to raise my hand. Like, I thought he'd be good for them, right? I just thought that maybe he would get hit by the injury bug because he's been that way the last couple of years of his career. But maybe it was just a New York thing, right? Joe Shane looking like a complete fool, and I've talked about this on Thursday on NFL matchups, but his resurgence to Philadelphia, and granted, Philadelphia has a great line, a better offensive line. You're seeing what he can do with a really good offensive line, and he's doing that. So kudos to him. I honestly, if you don't think he's an MVP candidate, I'm not going to say he's going to win it, right? Because I know there's politics. I understand that. But if you don't think he's a candidate, at least, I don't know, man. I don't want to be rude, but like, listen, like, you probably need to get your eyes checked, or you're just brain dead, right? I just don't get it. I mean, at first, Derrick Henry was one of the front runners, but I think right now, as far as outside of quarterbacks, it's only really three players, in my opinion, right now that have a legitimate chance of winning this, and it's Lamar. And Lamar was kind of a little touch and go there, right? He struggled a little bit, but Josh Allen's putting together a little quiet season. But then it's got to be Saquon. I think Saquon is right in the middle of it all. I don't have the odds here for Vegas, but but listen, Saquon Barkley had a lot to prove this season. He felt like the Giants just kind of gave up on him. And the thing with the Giants is, like, you could have paid him. They could have paid him at the end of the day. Now, I get the reasons maybe why, but it's like, but you let him go, but you didn't really replace him either. It's one thing if they're like, okay, well, we got another guy coming in, right? It's like, okay, but you didn't. You didn't replace him. So, and then the Eagles were like, yeah, we'll pay you. What? 3 years, 38 million. That's nothing for them, right? So good teams find ways to pay people, right? And the Giants are not a good team. And so there you have it. So, I mean, honestly, to me, he's the front runner. Unless Lamar comes out today and just does crazy. The Bills should win their game easily today. So I don't expect Josh Allen to really put up those stats, but it's going to be a week by week case basis, right? It's like literally it's going to be like college football for these guys where they're just going to have to just put up points, put up incredible stats. But I really believe that Saquon Barkley should be a strong, legitimate candidate for the MVP race because he's what's making them go. Not to say that the Philly doesn't have a lot of other things going on. They still got talent, but he is the guy. The way they're able to run the football, the way he's able to just make a big play. He's a one-hitter quitter at this point. Like he can take the ball and just go. There's not a lot of guys that can really do that in National Football League outside of like a Lamar and now himself, Tyreek Hill when he's on a functional team. So definitely he should be considered. If you don't think he's an MVP candidate, I don't know. I don't know. I just don't get it. I don't see what you don't see. I'm not gonna say you don't understand football, but maybe just being a hater at this point. And I'm done hating on guys like that. I used to hate on Lamar a little bit. I have my reservations with guys like that. Of course, maybe they're fabulous in the regular season. But when you're talking about legacies, you got to win in the postseason. So, but as far as excitement, entertainment value, guys like Lamar, Saquon, they're getting it done, man. And each one of them should be strong MVP candidates. But Saquon Barkley, definitely, to me, right now, today, I'm probably giving him the award. I mean, look, he's almost having a record-breaking career. He's on pace to rush for more yards than Eric Dickerson. I think it's like 2,000 or 2,100 yards. Like, come on. Like, not too many guys are rushing for 2,000 yards now. This is a passing league. So that's another thing why I'm like, how do you not understand? Like, this guy is putting on a record-breaking type of season, and you don't give him any props. So, but shout out to those people because you have no clue. You got no clue, and I'm sorry. I hate to tell you that, but you got no clue. Prove me wrong. To tell me otherwise, why you don't think he should win the award? If it ended today, tell me why he shouldn't win it. Right? The team is 9-2. He's a driving catalyst as to why. Right? Come on. He's putting together a record-breaking career. Right? Maybe he'll rush for over 2,000 yards. Like it's too many pros versus what are the cons? What has he had? What hasn't he done? So, I mean, he arguably got the play of the highlight clip of the year already, right? You can add that in there, right? With the jumping backwards hurdle. Like, come on. They even put that on Madden now. Come on, man. Like, just get over the hate and congratulate the guy, right? So he may not win it, but if he does, then, it is what it is. Ben comes in. He says, Barkley, Henry, Jacobs have made they made the position valuable again. The teams, man, that's a great point. Actually, Ben, I was mentioning this to somebody the other day where I was like, for some time there, it was kind of like, oh, you don't need a stud running back anymore. You don't, right? That's what we thought, right? But this year, and to your point, guys like Henry, Barkley, and even Josh Jacobs, who having a quiet year in Green Bay, they have made that position valuable again, right? You look at all the good teams this year. Majority of them have a dude in the backfield. Now I know the Lions have the what's it called, Sonic and Knuckles type of tandem, but still they have good running backs, right? You got Kansas City, right? Pacheco's back. You think he's not going to be good or valuable down the stretch for them? Yeah, he is, right? So you do need running backs. So I think with this year, and I can't speak for the future, but just this year alone, this is probably the perfect year for Saquon Barkley to win this award, right? Because if we're talking about how they've changed the game for running backs again, he's at the top of the committee at this point, right? So great point. And you're right. You mean to tell me that the Titans, the Raiders, and the Giants are not missing those guys like Jacobs and Henry and Barkley? Absolutely. The Raiders thought Zamir White was going to be a guy. Zamir White don't even touch the field anymore. Okay. I know the Titans got Tony Pollard. He's been decent. I get it. Giants, who they got? Tracy Jr., like nice guy, nice kid. Like had a really good solid. See, I think for his own playoff for his play, I can't talk. For his own performance, nice year, but it's not Saquon Barkley. Not to say that if he was in New York, he would have this type of year. I mean, it's all relative, right? So, but shout out to the running backs. They made a comeback this year. And just please, if Saquon stays injury-free, continues to play at a high level, give the man the award and move on. Okay? Just give him the award. All right. All right, appreciate you. All right, let's move on. Let's look at my power rankings for week 13. Uh Detroit still number one. Still number one. Close one against Chicago, but granted, it is what it is, right? But still number one in my book. And the dynamic and duo with Jameer Gibbs and David Montgomery, Sonic and Knuckles, puts a lot of fear in a lot of teams' hearts. I will say that. All right, Buffalo coming at number 2, 6 consecutive wins. And a big win over Kansas City not that long ago. AFC East is wrapped up for them, I would say. I don't think anyone's going to challenge them. Even though Miami was looking like, but they can't play in the cold. So if the game is below 40 or 50 degrees, you can just chop that up to a loss for Miami. Like, I had faith in them a little bit this Thanksgiving, but they just look like a totally different team. But anyway, Buffalo is not number 2. I got Philadelphia there at number 3. Right now, these 3 teams right now are even. Well, I say 4. I haven't got to the Chiefs yet, but the Philadelphia Eagles are one of those teams where you're like, you can see them playing in the Super Bowl. They match up well with Detroit for sure. They can run the football. They got guys outside. They got good quarterback play. Their defense is coming on. They're getting pressure. So I can definitely see this as an NFC conference championship. I know they're going to play each other soon here in the regular season, but I got Philly at number 3. I got the defending champs at number 4. I'm not taking into consideration this last game with the Raiders because obviously this was put in before the game was played. But I will say this, like, I just know every week they're going to play teams close. And eventually that stuff does come back to bite you in the ass. It does, right? They played Carolina close. You almost honestly should have lost to the Raiders, really, right? And that's gonna affect my view for them in the rankings for next week for sure. But the defense need to pick it up a little bit more. They've struggled, right? Offense got to get going too, though. You can't only just score. What was the score in that? I forgot. It was a low scoring game, if I'm not mistaken, against the Raiders, who also have a struggling defense too. So they're playing with fire. They're playing with fire. Eventually, they're gonna get burned. You just don't know when. Is it only going to be in the regular season, or will they activate in the playoffs and get things going? Because right now, the way it looks, I mean, obviously they won the game, but if they keep getting into situations where they're needing miracles to win, or other teams to make really big crucial mistakes down the stretch, that's not a really good recipe to win. And I think they're going to have to go on the road again, which we see that they can do that. But I got them at number 4. Baltimore, I got them at number 5. The biggest thing that scares me with Baltimore, defense is okay. Like it's not great. It's not a dominating defense. Offense can get it going when they need to. My biggest problem with them is the penalties. I believe they lead the league in most penalties per game, and that's a problem. If you want to be an elite caliber type team, you cannot lead the league in penalties. So for me, that's a big issue. I think that's going to come back to haunt them as well too. Maybe what happens is late in the game, you get a holding call or an offside call or a pass interference or false, or whatever the case may be, right? And that kills your drive, right? So especially when you're in the playoffs, you're playing really good teams, you can't have that. So that's why I'm kind of leery of Baltimore. I like the pieces, but those penalties, man, it really is a cause for concern for me. All right, number 6, I got the Minnesota Vikings. They almost lost to the Bears a couple weeks ago too. Sam Darnold played okay. He's gotten a little bit better. Still don't believe in him all the way right now. I lost a lot of, not a lot of respect, but I lost a lot of confidence in him. So hopefully he can right the ship. Their defense is going to have to remain strong and keep them in these games because their schedule is going to get a little bit tougher, but I still like them at number 6. Green Bay, number 7. Hey, good performance. Thanksgiving. Did what you needed to do. You beat on a team that you're supposed to beat. Jordan Love looked really good. I would say, as long as he just minimizes the mistakes late in games, this team will be right there. Like right now, I know Philly and Detroit are the two talks of the town there in the NFC. But I think the Packers may have something to say, especially if they can keep that defense firing on all cylinders. And if Josh Jacobs could keep running that football and playing well, the Packers might have something to say because they're built to go on the road and win games too. Like you know what I mean? Like they honestly should have been in the NFC Conference Championship game last year. So they can do it. It's like they just got to get the way. They got to get out of their way of themselves, I would say. But I like the Packers. Pittsburgh, I got them at number 8. To me, it's their offense. Like I know Russell Wilson's come in, look pretty decent for them. but at some point you're gonna have to score 20 something points outside of your kicker getting field goals, right? You're gonna have to score touchdowns. Defense, I think, is gonna do what they do for sure. I don't lack in confidence of their defense. It's their offense, and will it be consistent enough to get these wins when they need it down the stretch? So I got them at number 8. The Chargers, although coming off of a loss, got some injuries there too. J.K. Dobbins might miss some time, but they're well coached. I really believe in Jim Harbaugh. I think he'll be able to right the ship. Like now, are they like a top contender? No, I think they're one of the better teams in the National Football League. I got them in my top 10 power rankings. They were running on a nice little streak there. They ran into a better team last week Monday in the Baltimore Ravens. So, but I still like the prospects for the Chargers, so I got them at number 9. And then finally, I got the Denver Broncos. They have cracked the top 10 for the first time this year. Bo Nix has looked really, really good. Getting that ball out to Courtland Sutton. What I don't like, though, is their running back committee. I just don't know who it is at some point, especially if you have them for fantasy. But Bo Nix, I'll talk about him. Like, listen, he's definitely made up some ground on Rookie of the Year, for sure. Offensive Rookie of the Year. Will he win it? I don't know, because Jaden Daniels came out so strong. But I will say this, if Jaden Daniels continues to struggle, which that might be a possibility, and Bo Nix continues to play better, Bo Nix might surpass him. Now, and so we'll have to wait and see. But Denver, again, they're not like a team that I trust to go deep into the playoffs. But they're 7-5. They're doing their thing. It is what it is. But I still like them. But not to win it all. Like, I don't take them that serious like that. Like I said, the only teams I take real serious at this point are the top 4: Lions, Bills, Eagles, and the Chargers. And the Chiefs. Those are the 4 teams that I like. Okay, they're going to be somehow in the mix somewhere. So, all right, there you have it. Those are my power rankings for week 13. What do you guys think, man? Let me know what you think in the comments section. Am I all messed up or what? I don't know. So let me know. All right, really quick. Let's run through the rest of the slate of these games. I'll give you my thoughts on these games. You got Chargers and Atlanta. It's a close one. Chargers are -1.5, at least the last time I checked. So Falcons, up and down type of season, right? I think a lot was expected for them. New offensive pieces, new quarterback, new coach. They're kind of like right there in the middle of the pack. They've won some games. You're like, okay. And then they've lost some games. You're like, oh, damn, okay. Right. So look at the Chargers coming off a tough loss at home to one of those teams that might be in the AFC Conference Championship game. Who knows, right? But a strong team in the Baltimore Ravens. I like the Chargers to win this game. I think in the end, Jim Harbaugh is a better coach than Raheem Morris. I think they'll make better decisions down the stretch. I think Justin Herbert will find a way to get it done, although they're lacking some running game there with J.K. Dobbins. But I like the Chargers. You got the Pittsburgh Steelers on the road taking on the Cincinnati Bengals. This one's a little weird because you got a really good defense going against Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, who we've seen him just light up defenses for sure. Joe Burrow, this is one of those weird seasons for him, man. Like he's doing all he can, coming off of injury last year, but the team itself around him just isn't that great. Pittsburgh, on the other hand, just like I said before in the power ranking segment, they can't score. They just can't score. And you're going to have to score today, right? Because I believe that Jamar Chase is going to get his at some point. Maybe he might not go off for 200 plus yards, but he's going to go off at some point. He's going to get his, and kicking field goals is just not going to do it. Although their defense is elite, I still think it's going to be a tight one, but I'm going to go with the Steelers in this one. All right, Houston Texans taking on the Jacksonville Jaguars. Texans kind of reeling a little bit last week. They lost to the Tennessee Titans. Not a good loss. Right? Now you got to go on the road to Jacksonville, who hasn't really been lighting up the world either, but the Houston Texans are struggling. And Jacksonville always has these types of weird games, especially against division rivals, where late in the year they'll get a win. I think this will be a close game. I'm going to go with the Jacksonville Jaguars to win this game. I don't like how the Texans have been playing offensively. CJ Stroud has not played well at all this year, and he's the first to admit it. I like Jacksonville's chances this year at home against the Texans. All right, Arizona Cardinals on the road. Excuse me, yeah, they're on the road going to Minnesota. This is a big game too, right? You got two teams, you know, that are kind of looking to kind of stamp their name somewhere out here. You know, you got Minnesota Vikings who are like, hey, what about us? You know, we're 9-2, I think they are, right? Something like that. Like no one's talking about us, right? No one believes in us, right? And then you got Arizona Cardinals who are fighting to stay alive in the NFC West because whoever wins that division is going to get a playoff berth, right? Obviously, and if you don't win the division, your season's done, right? There's no wild card coming out of NFC West. But Arizona Cardinals looking to kind of stay to keep pace with the Seahawks, who I believe who sit at top now after their win last week. But I like Minnesota at home. I just something about West Coast teams traveling to that Central East Coast time zone. It's a struggle for them. It's going to be an early game for them, I believe. I believe it's a 1:00 start or 12:00 Central, which would be like 9 a.m. Here, or excuse me, not 9 a.m., 10 a.m. For the West Coast people. So I think that's their clock's going to be a little bit slow, but I like Minnesota to win that game. Colts taking on the Patriots. This is a little fun one. If you just want to see young quarterbacks play, make some mistakes, this is an interesting one. You got the Colts with Anthony Richardson and then Drake May for the New England Patriots. Drake May putting together a pretty solid rookie campaign. Obviously, hasn't amounted to a lot of wins, but you see some flashes with the kid here. Anthony Richardson, you know, listen, he's just a glorified athlete that plays quarterback at this point. Like, yeah, he'll win you a game or two against crummy teams. But when you ask him to line up and play really good defenses and teams, he can't get it done. Can't get it done. So I'm off the Anthony Richardson train. I kind of like, I mean, just with the Colts, I really, last couple years, man, I've been high on the Colts, but now I'm just like, I don't know. They have to show me otherwise. I like New England at home to win this game. I think Drake May will outperform Anthony Richardson, so I like them in this one. Got Seattle taking on the Jets. This is a tough one, too, for Seattle because you're going from the Pacific Northwest all the way to the East Coast to take on the Jets. The good thing is that Jets aren't a good football team, and Aaron Rodgers ain't shit, right? So, you know, see, like I said, just like the Cardinals, like the Rams, anyone in the NFC West, every game is like a playoff game for them. It really is. It really is. So if they want to say, you know, we're a team here, you gotta beat the Jets. The Jets are down and out for the count. Aaron Rodgers not playing well. You can get after him. I don't even know if Devontae Adams is even playing, right? Since he's been there, he's done nothing for the Jets at literally. So shout out to him, right? For leaving the Raiders. I'm not a Raider fan, don't get me wrong, but you know, shout out to him for being stupid and not choosing winning over playing with your buddy who's 40 years old coming off a torn Achilles. Like, okay, like that makes sense. Let's go play with him. But anyway, I like Seattle, although they do have to make that tough trip over there to New York. But the Jets aren't a good football team, so I like the Seattle, especially the Jets defense can be had. Like they're not a good defense anymore. Not sure what happened. Maybe firing Robert Saleh was probably the worst decision they could have done, at least to kind of salvage the season. But it is what it is. But I like Seattle. I got Tennessee Titans on the road taking on the Washington Commanders. Titans coming off a really good win last week against the Houston Texans. Commanders, what happened? Lost to the Cowboys last week. That's not a good look. They're struggling offensively. They're gonna have to get things right. Tennessee's got like a weird, stingy type of defense. But I'm gonna go with Washington. I think they're gonna find a way to get it done. Will Levis will throw an interception or two. That's what he's. But see, Will Levis is he's a boomer bust kind of guy, right? So he'll play well, but he'll give you something too. So you gotta take advantage of that. But I'm gonna go with the Commanders at home to win this game and get off their losing streak there. We got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers taking on the Carolina Panthers, showing a lot of fight. Shout out to Bryce Young for letting people know, like, you know, I can play in the league, right? He went toe to toe with the defending champs. Obviously, they didn't get the win, but he showed that he can play, improving each and every week. Is he going to be the guy moving forward? Like next year? I don't know, but at least for the rest of the year, he should be the starting quarterback for the Carolina Panthers. But they're showing some promise there, so I'll give them that. Tampa Bay looking to kind of. They're in it though. I mean, they're still in this thing, man. You know, despite some of the injuries this year, Baker Mayfield is one of those really solid quarterbacks. I like Tampa Bay to win this one because it's a must win. They have to keep winning. They want to stay pace and maybe try to win the NFC South or maybe get a wild card. We'll see. But I like them in this one. You got LA Rams taking on the New Orleans Saints. This will be a little fun matchup. Rams have really weathered the storm a lot this year with the injury bug. I know they're coming off a loss this past week to the Eagles, right? They were kind of in that game. They kind of let some things go late at the end, where Saquon just broke their back, literally, with the playmaking ability that he had. But you got a good matchup. You know, although you're going to the dome, right? It gets loud in there, and you never know what can happen in there. But they are the better team at this point. They got the better quarterback. You got the better weapons. I like the Rams in this one against the Saints, so I'm going to take the Rams in this one. And probably the biggest game of the day of the week, you got the Philadelphia Eagles on the road taking on the Baltimore Ravens. This is going to be exciting. Ravens defense is not as dominating as it once was before. You know, they can be had. Right. So Lamar, Derrick Henry, I think they can find their way around to a little bit on the Philadelphia Eagles defense a little bit. You know, they lost Brandon Graham, one of their driving catalysts. Maybe he isn't like the superstar player he once was before, but definitely a voice in that locker room. You're going to miss him on the field. I think Baltimore Ravens will have a little bit of opportunities there to get some things going. But in the end, I like the Philadelphia Eagles to remain on this winning streak that they got. I like Philadelphia in this one. All right, my Sunday Night Football. Last time I checked, the weather conditions are going to be crappy, which bodes well for Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills. You know, it's a home game. They're used to playing this type of environment. 49ers coming from, you know, Santa Clara, very warm, you know, type of weather. The 49ers not playing good football at all. This is a must win for them. I don't know what the status is of Brock Purdy this season, or excuse me, for this game. Is it Brandon Allen? I don't know. I don't understand why Josh Dobbs doesn't play. Like, I thought he would be a better back. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. So maybe you might see some time today. I don't know. But to me, the 49ers have lost their luster. If they win this game, it's off of just sure pride. But I don't have them winning this game. I like Buffalo in this one to win this game at home. And then finally, the Monday Night Football matchup we've all been waiting for. Psych. You got the Cleveland Browns taking on the Denver Broncos in the Mile High City. You know, Cleveland, I think the last time we saw them was what? Was it the Steelers game? Was that their last game? They won that game against the Steelers on was it Thursday Night Football, I believe it was. So maybe I'm wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong. Denver, you know, like I said, I got them in my top 10. You know, they're doing their thing. Their last one was against the Raiders last week. You know, very, very strong football team. They can play defense, of course. And if Bo Nix can continue to kind of keep improving each and every week. However, though, if this game was in Cleveland, I might have went with the Browns, but this game is in Denver, so I'm going to go with the Broncos to win this game and get the win and wrap up the week for week 13. So, all right, there you have it. Let's take a look at my clutch picks of the week before we get out of here, because we're racking over. We're right on time here. Clutch picks of the week for week 13. I got the Chargers on the road at Atlanta, didn't win. I got Minnesota at home against the Arizona Cardinals. I got the Steelers on the road at Cincinnati, beating them. And I got Philly on the road, beating the Baltimore Ravens. So those are my clutch picks of the week for week 13. I believe I went 3-1 last week. So pat myself on the back right there. So there you have it. If you want to place a bet here, there you have it right there for you. So, all right, man. Hey, listen, that's all I got. Good show, man. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Make sure you guys check me out on NFL matchups video. I'm debating if I like doing the show live. I think I kind of like doing the show live, if I'm not mistaken. So we'll wait and see, but definitely NFL matchups will be on its way for next week. So make sure you guys tap in at the Grid Network YouTube channel. Also check me out here on my Clutch Sports Talk podcast YouTube channel, as well as Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. You guys can catch me for my clutch players of the week, my clutch picks of the week, all that, the whole enchilada right there. So check me out there. So hey, that's all I got, man. Hope you guys had a good time. We'll make sure you guys, like I said, check me out. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday, man. Have a great time, and I will see you guys on NFL matchups next week. So, like I always say, this is your boy Ryan Flowers, a.k.a. Clutch Sports Talk. Never settle till the work is done. We'll see you guys next week. Peace.